My name is Adam Ridgway. I'm 64 years old, the youngest son of one of Florida's wealthiest families, and the husband of the late Elaine Ridgway, business legend, media darling, and the woman everyone assumed ran the empire alone. I was never the one in the spotlight. While my brothers fought for board seats and headlines, I stayed in the background, managing the books, keeping the machine running. They called me the quiet one, as if silence meant weakness. But what they never knew, what no one knew, was that I held the original trust deed. The one Elaine and I signed before the empire was worth a dime. They all thought her death would be the final chapter. They were wrong, because when my son stood up during the will reading and said, "Don't expect a dime from Mom's 99 million," he had no idea whose name would come next. The chandelier flickered once overhead, casting warped shadows across the velvet drapes. The Ridgway estate dressed in a funeral black, and billionaire sheen smelled like roses, bleach, and expensive fear. Briggs, my oldest, stood at the head of the long table like a CEO ready to announce a merger. "Before we begin," he said, tone oily, "let's just be clear. No one's here to dispute what Mom wanted." That's when he said it, the sentence that cracked open everything. "Don't expect a dime from Mom's 99 million. His voice wasn't cruel. It was casual, like reading off today's menu. I didn't react, just sat there, center left, same chair Elaine always insisted I take, one seat down from hers. That chair was empty now. Or maybe not. It still felt like she was in it, watching. People think silence is surrender. It's not. Sometimes silence is the sharpest knife in the room. Beside me, Marla tapped her phone. The youngest of my three, she never looked up. Next to her, Davis, the family lawyer, cleared his throat and flipped open the red folder. Per the revised will, dated February 10th, Davis began, "Elaine Ridgway bequeaths the estate, including but not limited to all business holdings, properties, liquid assets, and personal effects to the following beneficiaries." Pause. No air moved. Names fell like glass. Briggs Ridgway, Marla Ridgway, Everett Ridgway, and to the Ridgway Philanthropic Trust, chaired by, he looked up briefly, Mr. Briggs Ridgway. No Adam. No mention of a husband, no joint trust, no shared ownership, nothing. Static rang in my ears. For a second, I thought it was my hearing aid. "I don't wear one," Davis continued, but the words blurred. Something about charitable disbursements, about legacy, about intent. I leaned forward. "Is there a page missing?" I asked. Voice low, controlled. Davis froze. Briggs snorted. "Come on, Dad. You knew Mom didn't want the drama. She made it clean, efficient." Marla finally looked up. "You never even signed anything jointly with her, remember? You were always hands off." That wasn't true, but they believed it, because Elaine had asked me to stay invisible years ago. "Let them think it's all mine," she said once. "The less they know, the safer it is, for all of us." I stood, eyes turned. "Where's the trust deed?" I asked. Briggs laughed. "There is no trust deed. Mom dissolved it in 2018. You know that." No, I didn't. I reached into my inner coat pocket. My fingers brushed against the sealed envelope. "Not yet. One beat too early. And you're just an old man making noise." Davis looked uneasy. His hand hovered over the red folder like he wanted to close it. I pointed at the final page. "Let me see the signature." Briggs stepped in. "This is ridiculous." I ignored him. Davis flipped. His hand trembled, just a little. I squinted. The signature was too clean, too straight. Elaine's real signature had a lean to the left, and her loops were sharper, but this one... I exhaled. "That's not her signature." Eyes snapped toward me. Briggs went pale. Marla dropped her phone. Davis didn't move. And for the first time since the funeral, the entire room fell silent. I didn't sleep that night. The house was too quiet, the kind of quiet that feels like breath held in someone else's lungs. The signature wasn't hers. I knew that the second I saw the E. Elaine never wrote her E like that. Too symmetrical, too deliberate. My wife was many things, but precise handwriting wasn't one of them. Her signature had rhythm. This one had rehearsal. I sat in the dark, at her desk, in her study. My study now, technically. But nothing in this house felt like mine anymore. Even the walls were different. The portraits gone. The fireplace cold. A storm hovered just off the coast. Lightning flared once, casting shadows through the rain-streaked window. Her scent still lingered on the leather chair. Vanilla and rosemary. You never really know people, not even the ones who share your bed. I said it out loud. It sounded truer that way. Her desk was locked. Of course it was. Elaine always kept the key on a gold chain tucked into her copy of Atlas of the Mind. She liked metaphors. She liked hiding things in plain sight. Click. The drawer gave. Inside, a navy folder, unlabeled, a keycard to a safety deposit box at Atlantic First Bank, and a post-it, yellowed with age. 2 words, if found, run. Lightning again. Closer this time. I opened the folder. Inside was a copy of a trust agreement. Original date, 2007. 2 signatures, hers and mine. I blinked. This was it. The document I thought we lost when the office flooded. She never told me she kept a copy. It was still valid, still binding. It superseded any new will, unless formally dissolved, which required both signatures, and I never signed a dissolution. They forged it. My hands trembled. I scanned the document. The notary stamp was real, the names aligned, but the accompanying revocation form, not here, not even a copy. If this held up in court, everything they claimed was theirs wasn't. But why would she hide it from me? Footsteps. Not mine. Soft, slow, carpeted. I turned off the desk lamp, pressed my back against the bookshelf, listened. A voice, muffled. Check the study. He might have taken it. Another voice, lower, calmer. He won't get far. We shut down his accounts this afternoon. I didn't breathe. The floor creaked. Door handle turned. I slipped behind the curtain just as the door opened. 2 shadows spilled in. Briggs and Marla. Briggs opened the desk, searched with practiced efficiency. No folder, he muttered. It was here. I know it. Marla hovered near the window. She wasn't looking for papers. She was watching the street, watching for someone. Briggs stood. We may need to move up the timeline. Are you sure? Marla whispered. Dad's not a threat. He doesn't even know how this stuff works. Briggs pulled out his phone. Elaine didn't die for this to fall apart now. He dialed. I slid out the side door before I heard who answered. Cut. Scene. Kitchen. I moved fast, grabbed my coat, slipped the folder into the lining. Keys. Flashlight. The key card. A locked bank deposit box during probate could be accessed only by court order or a surviving co-owner. Elaine listed me as joint holder. I had a way in. I opened the fridge pretending to be casual, just in case. Old habit. There was a note stuck to the milk. You're too late, Dad. My throat went dry. Phone buzzed. No caller ID. I hesitated. Picked up. A man's voice, low, calm. You're not crazy, Mr. Ridgway. But if you want answers, don't go to the bank tomorrow. You're already being watched. Click. Gone. No breathing. I stared at the phone, at the note, at the window. Out across the lawn, under the trees, a red glow blinked once. A cigarette. Someone watching. Elaine used to say, when you find yourself in a room full of liars, the truth isn't the loudest voice. It's the quiet one asking the wrong question. I was about to ask a lot of wrong questions. The signature's fake, and someone inside this house knows it. I drove until the sun cut through the rear view like a blade. The Ridgway estate shrank behind me, a tomb wrapped in hedges. I didn't look back. Elaine's keycard burned in my pocket. I kept replaying that phone call. You're not crazy, but you're being watched. No name, no caller ID, no time to doubt. The GPS pinged. The coordinates were real, somewhere just north of Austin. The rain started 2 hours outside the city. By the time I pulled off the highway, it was a full storm, wipers thudding, tires slicing water. I parked a mile from the house. Old instincts. Never walk into something you don't understand with headlights blazing. The cabin was buried in pine, not abandoned, lived in. New curtains, a porch swing, 1 boot on the welcome mat. I stepped up, knocked once, nothing, knocked again, still nothing. I reached for the knob. Unlocked. The door creaked open. Inside, silence and dust. A coffee cup, half full, steamless now, but the ring on the table was recent. Elaine's coat, draped over the chair, camel wool. I bought it for her in Milan. I moved room to room. Bathroom, clean. Fridge, half stocked. Closet, empty hangers. Then I saw it. On the floor by the bed, a flash drive, black. No label. Just one word scratched on the back. Lies. I took it, closed the cabin. No sign of her, but someone had been here. Cut scene. Hotel. Somewhere off I-35. Cheap curtains. Static TV. I plugged in the drive. One file. A video. Elaine appeared, sitting on a bench. Trees behind her. Hair tied back. Timestamp. 2 days after her death certificate. She looked tired, angry, alive. "If you're watching this, I failed to stop them," she said. Voice low, clipped. "But you can. You have what they want. You always did." She paused. "They're going to turn on each other. That's how you'll know it's close. The empire isn't just ours anymore. And the money. It was never just money." The video cut to static. I stared at the screen. 1,000 questions, none with answers. My phone buzzed. Blocked number again. Text message. "We warned you. Check your bank." I logged in. Denied. Access frozen. All 3 accounts. Personal, trust, retirement. Gone. A second text came through. "Next time, it won't be your money." The room spun. I slammed the laptop shut. Adrenaline surged. A truth you don't realize you're prey until something has teeth around your neck. I checked out of the motel in under 3 minutes, drove south, back into the storm. Halfway to Houston, my rearview mirror picked up headlights. Too close, too steady. 1 lane over, then behind me again. Then gone, then back. Tail. At the next rest stop, I cut the engine, waited. They passed me. Black SUV. No plates, no driver visible, just tinted glass. And silence. Elaine once said, "Fear isn't the thing that kills you. It's the silence right before it." I stayed in the shadows, watched them disappear into the horizon. My hands shook, not from the cold, from the realization I wasn't chasing Elaine anymore. I was being hunted for what she left behind. Elaine is alive, and I'm not the only one looking for her. I reached Houston just after midnight. Rain slicked the freeway like oil. The city lights bled through my windshield, blurring everything. My phone buzzed again. Blocked number. I let it ring. Then I powered the phone off and tossed it in the glove box. Trust is like glass. Once cracked, it never reflects the same way again. I'd been quiet too long, and now every shadow looked like consequence. I checked into a cheap place off Westheimer. Cash only. No ID. Motel clerk didn't ask questions. That was his talent. Inside the room, flickering lamp, floral curtains faded to beige, a deadbolt that barely held. I didn't unpack. The USB drive was gone, the one from the cabin. Snatched. Maybe when I stopped for gas. Maybe when I blinked, but I still had the keycard Elaine left. I ran a search. Atlantic First Bank, downtown Houston, vault-level access. Only by appointment, or federal order, or by someone with a cosigner code. Elaine's name was still listed beside. Mine. Cut scene. Morning. I shaved with a plastic razor. Shirt wrinkled. Tie from a wedding 10 years ago. No breakfast. Just coffee. Black. Burnt. Bitter. I walked into the bank lobby like I still mattered. Marble floors. Cameras in every corner. The kind of place where money feels heavier. Receptionist smiled, but her eyes didn't. "Do you have an appointment, Mr. Ridgway?" I said. "Adam Ridgway." She blinked once, then tapped something on her screen. I saw the flicker of recognition. Then something else. Panic. Alarm. "Of course," she said. "One moment while I alert the manager." Wrong move. I stepped back. "Actually, I'll come back later." Too late. 2 men in suits approached from opposite elevators. Security, not bank staff. Real suits. Badges tucked just low enough. I turned fast. Exited through the west door, not the front, down the alley, cut right. They followed. I ran. 64. Bad knees. But adrenaline is its own drug. They shouted. I didn't listen. Back into traffic. Crossed 3 lanes. Horns blared. A delivery truck almost clipped me. Cut through a parking garage. Up 1 flight. Down the back stairs. Slipped out near Main Street. Breathing like thunder. Shirt soaked. Hands shaking. I ducked into a diner, sat at the farthest booth, ordered nothing. Waitress gave me side-eye, then coffee. I pulled out my wallet, empty. No cards, no cash. My accounts had been frozen, my name scrubbed. They weren't just taking my money, they were erasing me. The door opened, wind swept in. Someone sat down across from me, black coat, no expression. "You're not good at hiding," he said, calm, controlled. "You're a ledger man, not a runner." I didn't respond. He slid a folded paper across the table. A photo. Elaine, taken 2 weeks ago. In Paris. Alive. "Where is she?" I asked. He smiled slightly. "That's not the question." I stared. "The question," he said, "is why she ran." Pause. "I think you already know the answer." He stood. "Don't go back to Florida." He walked out. A second later, a black SUV passed by the window. Same as before. Same red glow cigarette. I drained the coffee. No sugar. Outside, the sky cracked open with thunder. And I remembered something Elaine used to say. Only the hunted ever learn what freedom costs. Why is the FBI chasing a dead woman? The rain hadn't stopped. It just changed rhythm, softer now, like static over a bad signal. I parked in an alley off Canal Street. No signs, no numbers, just a black metal door and a keypad. Elaine's last message had been short. "The files are where the flood hit first." It made sense now. She wasn't talking about water. She meant the Dallas data breach, the scandal, the off-book server farm hidden in the bones of an old insurance building. I punched in the code from her keycard. The door clicked. A long hallway stretched ahead, lit only by red exit signs. Dust and damp clung to the air. I moved fast. Left, right, down a stairwell, basement level, third door on the right. Metal, locked. Another code input. This one blinked green. Inside, rows of file drawers, stacked drives, screens. A rusting fan overhead clicked every third spin. There were photos taped to the wall. Of me. At the will reading. In the motel parking lot. At the cabin. They'd been tracking me before I left Naples. A quote was scrawled across the wall in thick marker. "Empires fall quieter than they rise." I opened the top drawer. Bank statements, company shell accounts, all with my name on them. But I never opened them. Never signed. Elaine had. Used my identity. My clean history. While she moved money through layered trusts and offshore pipelines. One folder had a sticky note on the front. He was never supposed to see this. My hands curled. I sat. Opened the folder. Millions. Moved over 15 years. Laundered through donations, nonprofits, political PACs. Briggs' name showed up. Ann Davis, the family attorney. Quiet. Pale. Always just here to serve. They'd all been in on it. But the centerpiece. A scanned signature. Mine. Dozens of times. Fake. Cut scene. Upstairs, something shifted. The fan stuttered. A light went out. I froze. Pulled the folder close. Footsteps. Slow. Steady. Heavy. Someone else was. Here. I slid the documents into my coat. Closed the drawer. Another noise. Metal creak. The basement door. I moved to the far end of the room. There was an old supply closet. I ducked in. Shut the door. Left it cracked a finger's width. The man entered. Not Briggs, not FBI, not local. Black gloves, earpiece, silenced pistol. He walked slow, calculated, opened drawers, searched, pulled a hard drive, plugged it into a handheld scanner, paused, looked up, turned directly toward my door. Silence. One breath. Two. He walked past. Out. The hallway light flickered once. I waited 60 seconds. Then ran. Out the back. Up a rusted ladder. Onto the roof. Houston spread around me like a grid of secrets. Phone in my pocket buzzed. I answered. Elaine's voice. Low. Urgent. "You went too far, Adam." "I just found out who I am," I said. "And who you really were." A pause. "Then you know what happens next." "I'm not the one hiding." She breathed in. "Briggs made a deal. He's moving the money now, tonight. You need to stop him." "Why me?" "Because the only name left on the trust is yours. You're the last firewall." Then she hung up. I stared out into the storm. She used me to cover a crime, or to expose one. The elevator stopped at the 54th floor. The lights above flickered, like they weren't sure this building should still have power. Unfinished drywall, exposed steel beams, no glass, just open air and rain, and the kind of wind that shreds your voice mid-sentence. Briggs stood near the ledge. Suit soaked, collar turned up, one hand in his pocket. Behind him, Davis, holding a briefcase, the kind that didn't carry documents, just leverage. "I thought you'd run," Briggs said without turning. You thought wrong. You're good at playing the victim dad, quiet, sad, pathetic. But here you are, still meddling. You forged a will. You erased me from my own life, he chuckled. No, you gave it up the second you let her take the lead. You wanted peace, remember? No headlines, no responsibility. Well, this is what peace looks like. I stepped forward. Where's the money, Briggs? He turned. You don't get to ask that. You signed it all. Away years ago. I didn't sign anything. Davis opened the briefcase, laptop, cables, a mobile hotspot blinking red. The transfer was in progress. Tens of millions, vanishing into a digital graveyard. You're laundering everything, I said, through a fake trust tied to PACs and crypto shells. Elaine built the engine, but you're the one driving it now. Elaine, Briggs hissed, was weak. She thought exposure would fix it all. You know what happens when you try to fix a machine while it's running? He raised his voice. It tears you apart. A new voice echoed from the stairwell. She didn't run. You buried her. Elaine, alive, pale, eyes locked on Briggs like he was already sinking. She wore black, no makeup. One hand rested on a shoulder holster. Briggs froze. Davis stepped back. You don't have the guts, he said. Elaine raised her phone, tapped the screen. A video began broadcasting live across the city. To newsrooms, to law enforcement feeds, to the trust's legal board. Her confession, the files, the forgeries, names, amounts, everything. You told me we had no choice, she said. But there's always a choice, and hiding behind Adam's name doesn't absolve you. Sirens below, helicopter blades above. A red dot appeared on Briggs' chest. He stepped forward. Don't do this. You already did, she said. He lunged. Gunshot. Echo. Davis hit the ground first. Elaine never flinched. Briggs froze mid-move, looked down at his own hands. No blood. Just failure. A second team breached the stairwell. Tactical vests, badges. No more shadows now. I stepped forward, held out the file I took from the vault. This is everything. The real everything. The lead agent nodded, took it. Briggs was cuffed. So was Davis. They didn't speak. Elaine turned to me. You weren't supposed to find out this way. You mean you weren't supposed to survive? This long, I said. She didn't deny it. I needed someone outside the storm, she said. And you've always stood still when others ran. I looked at her for a long time. Standing still isn't strength, I said. It's just surviving. But today, I chose something else. A week later, I sat before the Ridgeway board. The empire was intact, but the old blood had been cut from its veins. Elaine gave up her seat. Disappeared again. FBI had enough to freeze every dirty asset. The rest would go to court. I reinstated the original trust, the one with our names side by side. I didn't want the money. I wanted truth. Legacies don't live in vaults, I told the board. They live in what you refuse to let die quietly. That afternoon, I walked past the roses she planted decades ago. Rain still lingered on the leaves. I bent down, touched one petal. Some things survive storms just to prove they were real. My name is Adam Ridgeway, and I just brought down a $99 million empire.